Then let's say that is the structure of an adult long bone. So this one. So by the naked eye of the longitudinal and the transverse section of the long bone, it shows that the structure first shows into that the shaft. So from outer to inner side, that is outermost side, that is the periosteum is present. So this one, that is the outer covering of the bone, and next to it, that is the cortex is present, this one, and next to it, that is the medullary cavity. So this one. So let's see, that is the first part, that is the periosteum. So periosteum, it is the outer and the thick part of the fibrous membrane which covered the surface of the bone. So this one here you can see, that is the periosteum. So it is made up of the outer fibrous layer and inner cellular layer, which is osteogenic in nature. Then the periosteum, it is united to underlying bone by a Sharp's fiber. Then the abundant periosteal arteries. These are the periosteal arteries which is supply nutrition to that the periosteum of the bone. So here you can see, that is the periosteum, and that is, these are the periosteal arteries. So this one. After then, let's see, that is the other part of, that is the structure of the bone. The periosteum, it is richly supplied by the nerve, so it forming the most sensitive part of the bone. Then the cortex, so this one. So the cortex, it is made up of the compact bone which gives the desired strength to the bone. Then medullary cavity, so this one. So medullary cavity, it is filled with the red or the yellow bone marrow. So at the time of the birth, the bone marrow, it is red to that the everywhere, to forming the hemopoiesis, and as the age is increases, so that should be atrophies, and it is replaced by the bone and the fatty marrow, which never forming that the hemopoiesis. The red bone marrow that persists the cancellous end of the bone. So here, that is the cancellous part that should be present into that the two ends, upper end and the lower end of the bone. Here, that is the red bone marrow is present. Then after then, that is the sternum, ribs, vertebra and the skull's bone, they have the red bone marrow found throughout the life. Then that is the two ends of the bone, that is the upper end and the lower end of the long bone, that is made up of the cancellous bone, which is covered by the hyaline cartilage. So this one. After then, let's see, that is the parts of the young bone. So this one. So how the development of the bone that should be occurs into that the young stage. So the typical long bone, it ossifies into that the three parts, that is at the two end, that is the upper end and the lower end, from the secondary centers, and the innervating shaft from, that is the primary center. So before the ossification is complete, the falling parts of the bone, it should be shows, that is the diaphysis, the metaphysis, epiphysis. So these terms. So let's see first, that is the epiphysis. So this one. So epiphysis, that should be occurs on the two ends of the bone which ossify from the secondary ossification center, and these epiphysis, they are of the four types. First, that is called the pressure epiphysis. So due to that the pressure epiphysis, it increases the length of the bone when, that is the pressure is occurs on the two ends of the bone. So that is the example, head of the femur, and that is the lower end of the radius. So as that is the newborn, it is starts to standing, so the pressure is occurs on the head of the femur, and whenever it newborn, it is starts to movement, that is the supine and the prone position of the forearm, so it should be occurs the pressure epiphysis. Then second one, that is the traction epiphysis. So traction epiphysis, it is not occur the transmission of the weight, but it provides the attachment to the tendons of the muscle, and because of the traction of the tendon, that is, it should be occurs the increase the size of the bone. So that is called the traction epiphysis. Then the third, atavistic epiphysis. So atavistic epiphysis, it can be occurs, that is the fusion of the one bone to that the another bone. For example, that is the coracoid process of the scapula. It is the separate bone, and after the ossification it should be joins to the remaining part of the scapula and to form the part of the scapula. So that type of epiphysis, it is called the atavistic type of epiphysis. Then the last one, that is the aberrant epiphysis. So the aberrant epiphysis, that is not always present, that is the example, the epiphysis of the head of the first metacarpal and the base of the other metacarpal bone. So that is called the epiphysis. Then second one, that is the diaphysis. So the diaphysis, that should be occurs in the center of the bone. So here, which ossifies from the primary center, that is into the intrauterine life. First, that is the tissue should be occurs in the center, and from this, that is the upper side and the lower side, that is start the developing bone. So that is called the diaphysis. After then, that is the metaphysis. So metaphysis, this one. So the metaphysis, it should be occurs on the epiphyseal end of the diaphysis. So here, that is the epiphyseal end of the diaphysis. It is called the metaphysis, and each metaphysis, it is the zone of the active growth of the bone. So here, that is, and it is this part, it is richly supplied by the blood throughout the arteries, forming the hairpin bends, and this is the common site of the osteomyelitis in the children, because that is the bacteria or the emboli are easily trapped into that the hairpin bends of the artery and causing the infection. So after the epiphyseal fusion, that is the vascular communication are established between, that is the metaphysis and the epiphyseal artery. So that is the metaphyseal artery here and the epiphyseal artery. So there the vascular communication that should be occurs. Then the epiphyseal plate of the cartilage. So this one. So it separates the epiphysis from the metaphysis. So that is the epiphysis and the metaphysis. So between this, that is the epiphyseal plate of the cartilage that should be present. The proliferation of this cell in the cartilaginous plate, it is responsible for the lengthwise growth of the long bone. After the epiphyseal fusion, here the bone cannot be longer grow in the length, and the growth of the cartilage, it is nourished by both the epiphyseal and the metaphyseal arteries. The blood supply of the long bone. So in the long bone, the blood supply, it is derived from these several arteries. First, that is the nutrient artery. So this one. So this artery is enters into that the shaft throughout that the nutrient foramen. Here it runs obliquely through the cortex and into that the medullary cavity. Each branch divide into that the two branches. One artery or one branch goes upper side and one branch goes the downward side. Then each branch that should be divided into that the number of small parallel channels, which terminates into that the adult metaphysis by anastomosing the epiphyseal artery. So here, this one, this is the epiphyseal artery, this one. This nutrient artery, it supplies to the medullary cavity, inner 2/3 of the cortex and the metaphysis. Then the periosteal arteries. So these are small arteries. So the periosteal arteries are the numerous present beneath the muscular and the ligamentous attachment. They ramify beneath the periosteum and enters into that the Walkman's canal to supply the outer 1/3 part of the cortex of the bone. Then the epiphyseal artery. So this one. So epiphyseal artery are derived from the periarticular vascular arcade found into that the non-articular bony surfaces. Out of the numerous vascular foramina in this region, and only few admit the arteries, that is the epiphyseal and the metaphyseal. The number and the size of the foramina may give an idea of the relative vascularity of the two ends of the long bone. Then the metaphyseal artery. So the metaphyseal artery, this one. So the metaphyseal artery are derived from the neighboring systemic vessel, and they passes directly into that the metaphysis and reinforce to the metaphyseal branches from the primary nutrient artery. So this one. For anatomical basis of the osteomyelitis, we have to see, that is the metaphysis. Then in the other bones, that is the short bone, they are supplied by the numerous periosteal vessels which enters in their non-articular surfaces. Then in the vertebra, the body, it is supplied by the anterior and the posterior vessels, and this vertebral arch by the large vessel entering the base of the transverse process. So here its bone marrow or its marrow, it is drained by the two large basivertebral veins, and then the rib, it is supplied by the nutrient artery which enters just beyond to that the tubercle and the periosteal artery. The venous drainage, that is the veins are numerous and large into that the cancellous bone, and into that the compact bone they are accompanied artery which is with that the Walkman's canal. Here into that the Walkman's canal, that is the artery and the veins which is drained from that is the compact bone. Then the lymphatics have not been demonstrated within that the bone, although some of them are accompanied by the periosteal blood vessels which is drained into the regional lymph nodes. Then the nerves accompanies then the nerve supply of the bone. So here that is the nerve supply. So nerve accompanies the blood vessel. Most of them are sympathetic and the vasomotor in the function, and few of them are sensory which is distributed to the articular end and the periosteum of the long bones, to the vertebra and the large flat bone. So here you can see that is the nerves, this one with the blood vessel into that the Walkman canal, that is the nerves are also present. Development and the ossification of the bone. So bones, they are first laid down as the mesodermal or the connective tissue condensation. Then the mesodermal stage, that is it may passes through the cartilaginous stage by the chondrification during the second month of the intrauterine life, or into that the cartilaginous model which is called the intracartilaginous or the endochondral ossification, and such bones that is called the cartilaginous bone. Then the ossification that takes place by the center of ossification, that is the primary center of ossification and the secondary center of the ossification, and each of which it is the point where the osteophytes laying down of the lamina or the laminar bone, that is called the osteoblast. Then the center of the ossification, it may be primary and secondary. So the primary center, it appear before the birth, usually during the 8th week of intrauterine life, and that should be occurs into that the center of the bone here. Then the secondary centers, they are appear after the birth, and with a few exceptions, many secondary centers appears into that the puberty. So the primary center, it forms the diaphysis. You know, in the center, that is the diaphysis that should be occurs, and the secondary centers, it should be forming that the epiphysis on the both end of the bone. The fusion of the epiphysis with that the diaphysis starts at the puberty, and it is completed by the age of the 25 years or more than it. The law of the ossification states that the secondary centers of the ossification which appears first are last of the unite. The end of the long bone where the epiphyseal fusion are delayed are called the growing end of the bone. So that is the development and the ossification of the bone.